Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, what's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Josh All, and I've got Angel Ortiz from the Bearded Brown Show joining me today during the bye week. Angel, how you doing today?
Trying to enjoy some stress-free week with no Browns being played. So, but you got to keep your eye open because anything can drop with Andrew Berry. Hopefully, maybe trying to make the team better. Hopefully, we'll see.
Yeah, and we'll talk about some potential trade moves that could be coming here in the next couple days and all that kind of stuff. You know, even when the Browns don't play, I know you say stress-free as far as worrying about whether or not they're going to go out and crap the bed on Sunday, but there's just always something going on with this team, especially with this quarterback situation, the coaching conversation, all that stuff, which we'll cover all that stuff today. Figured we'd just bring you guys a bye week Sunday episode talking about the Browns since we're not playing today. Everybody else is watching all these other teams, and ours is sitting at home getting ready to play the Jets, who are also sitting at home this week getting ready for us. So it's going to be interesting next weekend to see these two teams coming off their byes playing each other in New York. So before we dive into everything, I just want to kind of lay it out. We'll be talking about the first half of the season, kind of reflecting a little bit. We'll be projecting and talking about the second half of the season, expectations, things we hope to see, things we don't hope to see, all that kind of stuff. And then some, off-season talk, some head coaching stuff, maybe some draft. We'll get into all that. But before we really get going, I want to play this voicemail that Brandon sent us.
My name's Brandon Fisher. I'm from Ohio. I just want to know if Kevin Stefanski will be fired.
Thanks, Brandon, for the voicemail. Very simple question, and this is something that I'm excited to talk to Angel about because, well, first of all, talk to us about your show, your podcast, The Bearded Browns, and The Divide, because we've got a divide on our show about Kevin Stefanski and kind of our perspective on him. So why don't you fill our viewers in on that?
Bearded Browns podcast show. We do a live show every Tuesday and now Saturdays. Tuesdays 7:30, Saturdays at 10 a.m. But there's a divide amongst. Well, I don't want to say divide. Most of us is on let's move away from Kevin, and one of us, Chad, is the one that's like, guys, he needs some more time. He needs some more time, and we're like, how much more time? He's been here for 5 years. His numbers are slowly going down. He has not shown any improvement in the thing that he was good at, which was, setting up plays. Like in week 1, he will do something, and then week 3, he will draw off that play that was successful and trick the defense. It's not gotten any better at all. Our offense is stagnant. We have dropped 33% in scoring since 2023. I don't understand why fans are still saying it's not Kevin's fault. It might not be all his fault, but there's some fault there that we're going to have to start thinking about. Let's move on.
Yeah. So, and everybody watching here knows for us, it's Blake. So I think Chad and Blake should do their own episode. Yeah. They could do their pro Kevin propaganda and put out their reasoning why the Browns need to keep giving him more opportunities. But I'm with you, Justin, the other guy on our show, he's feeling the same way as the rest of us. Like, man, this is year 6. And, I Jake Burns from Browns Film Breakdown, I had him on earlier this week, and we were talking, and he said, looking back historically in the NFL, you don't see any examples where a head coach in the middle of their tenure have 2 back-to-back horrendous losing seasons like this and survive. He said, if you're going to have back-to-back bad seasons and still keep your job, it's whenever it's your first season with a new team, and that's the struggle season. And the second one might be a little struggle as well, but never in the middle do you put 2 of these together and then still keep your job.
Yeah, and technically 2023, if it wasn't for Joe, he was on the trend of having a negative season too, losing season. So that would have been his second or third in a row. And then we most likely will have a different conversation, especially going into this year if he would have survived that. So I don't understand why that conversation still can't be applied, because if you take away Joe, and I know Chad hates when we do take away stats, but if you take away Joe and just the lightning in the bottle just so happens circumstantial to happen, even if you go a little deeper, like what teams did we play against Joe? And then you're like, again, maybe that's why we got a little lucky there. But yeah, so for me, that's what convinced me a little bit after really looking into it, because I was a big Kevin guy. Even going into this season, I was like, Kevin needs this whole year. Kevin needs this. And then after maybe week 4, I was like, yeah, I think Kevin needs to we need to talk about this Kevin train, like maybe getting off it.
Yeah, I know we were all big Kevin guys too, like you said, even leading into this year, and took a lot of crap from a lot of people online over the last several years for being, I mean, there were people that were out on Kevin in year 1, even though, he took us to the playoffs for the first time in forever and all that kind of stuff. But I'm with you. If you look at 2023 and you take out those 5 games from Joe Flacco that were just insane, that would have been what? Kevin Stefanski would have 1 winning season out of 6. Like, that's not very good. I don't know why we're settling for that. And I know that season did end up being a winning season for us. So now we're talking 2 out of 6. That's still not very good. Are we just settling for, 33% of the time we might make the playoffs? Like, that's not good enough for me.
No. And if you see teams in our division, they don't settle that way. I mean,
no.
Pittsburgh's talking about getting rid of Tomlin. He hits the playoffs every year because they want more. It's like, sure, you hit the playoffs, and now we want to improve. We want to grow from this. And I think a lot of Browns fans, and including me, I fell into the trap of, well, he's better than what we had. He's better than what we had. And now you're like, well, was he better than what we had? Because he had, like you said, outside of, he had two good seasons, and then you start to think about, well, maybe he's what we thought we had. We're used to that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's my argument with Blake a lot of times too, is, yes, is Kevin the best head coach we've had maybe since the return in 99? Yeah. Is he better, like a lot better than Hugh Jackson and Freddie Kitchens, who came right before him? Yes, but that bar is so low, it doesn't take much to be better than those guys. And I talked with Jake about it, and anybody that you listen to in the media, like, Kevin's a nice guy. He's a good dude. I think he's a good dude. I think the players do like him. I think he's a good coach, but I just don't think he is a great coach. I don't think he's going to get us where we want to go. And like you said a little bit ago, his offense is old, stagnant, stale, and he's not shown any ability to adapt, adjust, evolve whatsoever. It's been the same complaints that I heard about Kevin Stefanski from fans in year 1 are the same complaints that I still hear now in year 6. And they're the complaints that I'm going with. I'm like, I've been hearing the same shit for 6 years.
Yeah.
At some point, we got to look at this and say, how much longer are we going to do this?
What is your opinion on Tommy Rees? Like, where do you see, because I mean, we went to this season, even the players were like, mainly Joe Pertonio and I think Teller were like, oh, it's going to be totally different. We're going to go back to 2023, pin pull. We're going to do a lot of screens, a lot of play action, whatever, all that fun stuff that we liked what Kevin used to do. And then I thought maybe adding Tommy Rees would be some wrinkles, some new age type stuff. And I'm just not seeing it. Do you think he's just not incorporating it, or do you think he's just not listening, or do you think Tommy Rees is just, there's nothing going on with him?
I'm not saying like this makes Kevin a bad person. I think Kevin's approach to his own fault, I think he's more of a my way or the highway type guy. Like, I'm going to make what I do work. I can do this. I can make it work. And it doesn't. And I think that it's kind of like with Ken Dorsey last year. We wondered what's Ken Dorsey? What's the marriage here? And then, he handed over play calling duties to Ken Dorsey, and it was like, okay, it's still the same crappy offense. I don't know how much Tommy Rees is actually involved in coming up with schemes or, play designs or anything like that, which is why if he hands over play calling Tommy Rees, I don't know what's really going to change.
Yeah, I agree.
Really don't know.
That's why I'm asking, like, is there anything that we've seen new that we could say Tommy Rees can improve anyone? Because I haven't seen it, because to me, it's the same offense as last year, just a different quarterback who's struggling to even look down the field. Yeah, for sure. And then, talking about like Betonio and Teller, and their comments prior to the season, I feel like the Browns fed everybody a load of crap. I think they fed the fans a load of crap. And I think they fed the players the same crap. And obviously, whenever you're going into a season, there's hope, there's optimism, there's, hey, this is what we can be, this is what we can do, from all fronts, from the media, from the fans, from the players, and all that kind of stuff. And then you see it on the field actually start to play out, and it's, okay, they lied about this, they weren't right about that. I wish I'd have listened to these reporters during camp who said Dylan Gabriel doesn't look like an NFL quarterback because
He doesn't look like an NFL quarterback. They were absolutely right about that. So, I mean, we can start talking about the quarterback situation as well. But I mean, as far as Kevin, would you, if it were your decision, just move on from Kevin at the end of this season?
I would. I think I would. I think he showed me enough to move on. And partially that is if Dylan is his guy and he said Dylan would help improve this offense, I'd start to question his ability to even see talent at this point. Right? Yeah. There's a lot of talk about Kevin, Dylan's Kevin's guy. He's got his hands all over this, and that's true. And you bring him in, and then you spend a whole offseason training camp, rookie training camp, mini camp, trying to give this guy extra reps, and he's shown nothing. How can I trust you're going to, if hypothetically, we'll probably talk about this later, you pick a number, you get a quarterback with your number 4th, 5th, 3rd pick. How are you going to develop him when you haven't even developed a quarterback since you've been here? So that's my fear.
Fair question.
That is my fear of, I'll give Kevin one more year because his offensive line, it wasn't good. You have all these excuses. Well, what has he done the 6 years previous to this year to show me that he has any development qualities of any player, let alone an offense?
It is a fair criticism for sure. And I hear it all the time from people, and I agree. Like there's been nothing. Every decision that this regime has made at the quarterback position has been the wrong one. Every single one. I can't think of one that was like, oh, that was a good call. Like they've all been, and somebody's out there screaming, Joe Flacco in 2023. Guys, we were out of options. This dude was at home on the couch and nobody wanted him. We just threw a freaking dart in the dark and just happened to pop the balloon with Joe Flacco and hit some lightning, and that was it.
Yes. Yeah.
And you see what Joe Flacco looked like in our offense this year.
Nothing.
He looked done. He looked washed, beat, old. Just might as well retire on the spot. 9 days later, he's down in Cincinnati throwing for 350 yards and beating the Steelers. Like
slinging it.
Something is amiss. And I guess one last question on the Kevin front for you. I've asked this to the other guys. I don't think Blake's ever really answered me. Maybe you can ask Chad and see what he says. If you were in charge of an NFL team and you had your head coach in place, would you hire Kevin Stefanski to be your offensive coordinator?
Not right now. No. I mean, based upon his quality of work and how he's digressed. Like he's digressed over the years. He's slowly, like you said, caveman-ish offense. You can't sit there and say, well, he's going to come in and add something to the room. And that's hard for me to say. I'm actually getting annoyed even with myself because I had all my eggs in one basket with Kevin because after the couple of years that he had, even the losing seasons, you've seen something there. But then the last 2 seasons, I'm like, last season, half this season, I'm like, dude, I just can't do this anymore. You just can't move the ball downfield, and you're getting 3 yards per pass. It's just you're scoring 15 points a game. You can't, even in his high years, he was still middle of the road with scoring per game. I think he was like 13, right. 12 to 15. If you look at it, the stats and the rankings, I don't think I would be able to bring him in offensive.
No, it's never been a top 10 offense. And, going back to what you said about what are we supposed to expect out of this regime and coaching staff if they draft a quarterback high next year? It's going to be if they draft a quarterback in the first round next year, then you're talking about another rookie season for a quarterback, another developmental year. And, maybe year 2, this guy starts to show that next level leap, kind of like a Drake May's taking this year. That's really your best hope, is that they can show some flashes as a rookie, because it's going to be a struggle no matter who it is as a rookie in the NFL. And then you want the second year to be like, hey, look, we can maybe show some flashes and do some things. Now we're talking 3-4 years down the road before we're actually seriously talking competitive, compete for something that matters type of football in Cleveland. And I just don't know if Kevin's the one to be leading that ship.
And you should always match the quarterback with the GM and coach that they pick so they can believe in them, right? They don't seem to do that in Cleveland, but in other teams that are successful, you want the GM to pick the coach and you want the coach to talk with the GM and say, this is the guy I can coach. For some reason, Cleveland has his mindset. Haslam has his mindset where this collective agreement in the room, it has not worked. And if you really think about it, if we get rid of this organization here, what does that say about Shador? I know a lot of us want to see him, But if a new guy comes in, if we hit the reset button, a new guy comes in, are they going to believe in Shedeur? Are they going to give him a chance? Like, that's why I want to see Shedeur now. By that way, they can, see what they have in him. And if
that's true, then at least the new people coming into the building would have some tape to go back on and say, hey, we feel confident enough in what we saw from limited time with Shedeur last year that we'll roll with him and use these 2 first-round picks to get some other key pieces for this offense. But, talking about Shedeur and Dylan and all that kind of stuff, there's obviously the argument out there that Dylan needs more time. It's only been, 4 starts and all this kind of stuff. But have you seen anything from Dylan that makes you think there's growth to be had here, or are we kind of already brushing against the ceiling of what he can do?
I had that thought 2 weeks into. I was like, there's something. There could be something there. He's not turning the ball over. And then I realized, as a podcaster, I need to look a little deeper. So I turned into turnover-worthy passes, and you see that he's ranked top 5. The DBs are just not catching these passes, because you forget about those passes that DBs drop. And then I realized the one thing that he was supposedly good at is taking care of the ball, being accurate. He is not doing. He's not processing fast down the field, which is what we were told. He's a human computer, and he's not been that. So I said on our podcast this week, and it caused a fury of an argument with Chad, because he's not ready to move on from Dylan. Me and Mike are. I said, I've seen enough in 4 games to tell me that at best he's going to be a backup. I'm ready to see Shedeur. And then he said, well, how many games are you going to give Shedeur? As many games as you want, because I'm convinced. And I even made the joke, say, as many games you want, even if you're not convinced that Shedeur is the guy, put Zappy in, because I'm convinced enough that Gabriel's always going to be a backup. He's not going to improve. But I believe in Shedeur enough to believe that he's going to improve enough these next remaining of this game season, that you're going to be convinced whether he's going to be a backup or a starter. And he's definitely going to make plays. He's not going to be throwing 4 3-yard dump off passes. He's going to throw downfield. And Dylan, when he rolled out against last week, he rolled out against New England and just floated that ball up there. That's when I knew I can't do this for the rest of the year. It was up there for 30 minutes, and it just hung up there like a punt. And as soon as he rolled out and he threw it, I looked at my wife. It's like, I'm done. And it didn't even land yet. And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "You can't."
It's still in the air.
It's still in the air. I went to get a glass of milk, and I came back, and it's still in the air. So that's when that was my ending. He threw it downfield. It hung in the air. It wasn't there fast enough. It got intercepted. Granted, great play by the DB, but still, point is a point. I think collectively, you've seen enough. Even with the data, PFF scores, whatever score you want to go to, his stats have gone down since his first game, and you would think they would improve, but they haven't.
This episode is sponsored by Southern New Hampshire University. Browns fans, do you ever feel stuck in your current job? Like, if you just had a different degree or some more education in a certain area, you could do something you really want to do. Well, Southern New Hampshire University has the answers for you. Head over to snhu.edu/bark to learn how you can get started on your new career today. SNHU is one of the largest online accredited universities in the United States, and it's radically affordable. Their online tuition rates are some of the lowest in the nation. So seriously, what are you waiting for? Head over to snhu.edu/bark to learn how you can get started on your degree for your new career, 100% online and 100% on your time. snhu.edu/bark.
Since 1989, Mount Hope Fence has set the standard in outdoor living. From decks and railings to fences and patios, we've got you covered. Our lineup features top brands like TimberTech, AlumaGuard, Preferred Railing, and Unilock, along with our own premium Duralux vinyl products. For over 30 years, we've partnered with contractors ensuring reliable job site delivery. Discover quality and excellence in all things outdoors with Mount Hope Fence.
I went and I looked back on these stats because the whole Kevin Stefanski, Dylan Gabriel thing reminds me so much of another, hey, just trust me on this guy moment. And it was when Hugh Jackson told us, hey, just trust me on Cody Kessler. You know, this is my guy. Watch what we can do. And I went back and I looked at this. So first of all, Cody Kessler was the 93rd overall pick in the 3rd round. Dylan Gabriel was the 94th overall pick in the 3rd round. So damn near the same exact draft capital between these two quarterbacks. The first four starts for both guys. Okay. That's what I wanted to compare. Cody Kessler had 865 yards passing. Dylan Gabriel only has 683 yards per game. Cody Kessler was throwing 216.3 and Dylan Gabriel just 170.8. Touchdown to interceptions, 4-1 for Kessler, 4-2 for Dylan. But the overall QBR from ESPN, 47.3 for Cody Kessler and just 24.3 for Dylan Gabriel.
Dang.
So Cody Kessler was so much better in his first 4 starts than what Dylan Gabriel is or has been with Kevin.
Yeah, I did not know that, and that's shocking. I'm going to clip this and then send it to Chad and say, "Are you ready to move on?" Because that is alarming, considering even Hugh Jackson was a horrible offensive guy. He was better than Kevin, so that's even an argument against Kevin, which is even better for the arsenal for the Kevin haters. But that is crazy. The Cody Kessler is better than Dylan.
Yep.
And Cody Kessler wasn't good. I don't know if you guys remember. I know a lot of us like to black out those years, but Cody Kessler was not a good quarterback. Was not good. No. And they tried to sell it though. Credit to Hugh. He was like, listen, he's just something special up this kid's sleeve, and it just wasn't good.
Well, and that's exactly what they've done with Dylan. Hey, this guy's a supercomputer, processing, timing, accuracy, rhythm, on time, all this stuff. And it's like, no, he's not. No, he's not. Like you said, he's throwing the ball to the DBs over and over. Pittsburgh could have had 6 interceptions, I believe.
Yeah, they just dropped
and
them.
They just didn't.
They're just not good catchers. That's why. Thornhill was one of them, and we know what Thornhill can do here. But another play,
which is crazy because they'd had so many.
Yeah, another play that really threw me for a loop, and it goes back to where he can't see over the line. Is that intentional grounding safety play, right?
Yes.
Like, what were you looking at? Like, I don't know, maybe it was a communication between him and the receiver. But the receiver was open anyways. Like if he would have took and looked downfield, he probably would have hit him. But either way, that's when I was like, yeah, this guy he's just not it. That was one of them. But yeah, I was like, he's not it, man.
That was a brutal play. That was brutal.
It's like the straw. That's definitely the straw that broke the camel's back. And that's when I was like, yeah, Tuesday, when I go on the show, I'm just going to wave the white flag and say, send in Shador for the rest of the year. Just let this kid just grow into what, hopefully they think he can be.
Yeah. Was that Kevin's flea flicker from the end zone?
Oh
play?
Yeah.
That was a Sean Kaiser, right? With you?
Yeah. That was it. Deshaun. Yeah. And I saw a stat that Sean Kaiser and Hogan are having better years than under Hugh than Dylan under Kevin.
I should go look at those two as well and
look at
expand my chart.
Yeah, because it's pretty alarming. But the Cody Kessler,
if you had a better performance outcome with 3 quarterbacks than what Kevin's having with Dylan, that's even more of an indictment.
It just seems like Dylan has to use his whole body strength to throw the ball downfield, and that is the concerning thing for me. It's like if you have to use your whole body strength, that takes away from your accuracy. I would believe, and I'm not a quarterback guru, but I would assume that would take away from your accuracy aspect because you're just heaving it up there, and that's scary.
Which is interesting because he was able to do it in college.
He was,
a yard is still a yard, whether you're in the NFL or you're in college, and the deep ball just doesn't seem like you said, he can't do it right now. And the other thing that concerns me with Kevin, with the quarterback situation, is we haven't seen any quarterback in this offense be able to throw the ball downfield in a long time. The only one who was really able to do it was, again, Joe Flacco in 23 because he had that, DGAF mentality he came in here with. Other than that, Deshaun Watson struggled throwing the ball downfield. Last year, all we saw was checkdowns.
Yep.
That was it. Check down Charlie. And then it was DTR was just checking the ball down. And then Jameis Winston came in here and tried to do the Joe Flacco, just chuck it downfield. And that worked for a minute. And then it turned into a lot of interceptions. Yeah. But other than that, it's been check downs, short passes, nothing downfield. I know a lot of people are excited about Shador. And obviously, like his fan base will be in your face telling you, like, he's going to come in here and put up 500 the first game. And it's like,
I had a fan.
Nothing to get.
I had a fan on our podcast this morning. I was reading the comments. He said Shador will make Larvidan and the kid from Kent look like number one receivers. I'm like, come on, man.
The kid from Kent's not even on the roster.
I was like, come on, man. I was like, listen, I'm interested in Shador. I want to see Shador. I'm one of those, like, I'll believe it when I see it, and I'm a Browns fan, so whoever's the quarterback, obviously, I will continue to watch every week. But to sit there and say that he's going to improve a guy who's like 5'8", 5'9", to me, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I think Shador just has the potential to be a very good spark for the offense. And at this point in the season, that's what you're looking for. It's what you're hoping for. I don't know about you, man. I feel like all the signals from clear back during everything since the draft has just been weird. You know, like first it started off with the post selection video of, Kevin and AB up in the box or whatever after they drafted Shador, and nobody looked happy. And then, they said, oh, well, that was a timing thing. They didn't catch the right moment.
It was a long day.
They caught the right moment for everybody else after their selections, but they just happened to mess up yours. Okay, got it. And then, the draft calls to Dylan was like, hey, man, it was like Kevin calling his son and welcoming him back from college and all this stuff. And then they call Shador and they're like, hey, just be ready to practice when you get here.
Yeah.
Click. It's been weird. It's been weird. And I don't know if they're really going to give Shador the opportunity that the fans are hoping for, just to see what, like you said, just see what we have, see what he can possibly do. And if he shows some of those signs, it's not going to be anywhere close to perfect, especially with this offense, the personnel, the play calling, all that kind of stuff. But if we could just see some signs, some throws that are like, whoa, that's a throw that, that's an NFL throw. That would really give us a lot going for. I just don't know if we're going to get that opportunity.
Yeah, that would suck, man. If we have to watch Dylan for another 4 or 5 games before they play Shador, it's going to be. And then you go into the questions like, are they the conspiracy right now going on? Are they tanking? Like, did they go into season knowing that they're just going to wash it clean, so they get a higher pick for their actual guy that they want this year? And then as a fan, you're like, come on, man, you're wasting. And then you're Myles Garrett. You're even more mad because you're out there throwing putting together poor performances at the expense of his legacy is just annoying.
Well, and Blake is very like, don't talk to me about any conspiracy stuff or whatever. And it's like, well, dude, you got to look at some of this stuff has a little validity to it. Cause last year they did the same thing. They said, we're going to bench Jameis and give, let DTR start. He gives us a better opportunity to win. No, he doesn't. We just want to see what we have in him. No, you don't. We already know what you have in DTR. We don't need to see it. He was the guaranteed pathway to losses. And that's what helped us get the number 2 overall pick. Yeah,
it was as evident. Like there's like his fans were like his preseason games, and like everyone's preseason game is good. Like until they play against them once, and then these bigger, faster, stronger men are. And then even after that Ravens game, I was like, yeah, that dude. It wasn't time to prepare. Like this dude, like you have quarterbacks that don't have time to prepare, and they look at least capable. Like DTR didn't even look capable. But yeah, I agree. Like I think they had that plan to bring him in. It was like, we're done.
Yeah, I think so too. And whether or not, I don't know whose plan it was, because I just remember like every press conference last year, Kevin just looked like a completely checked out, defeated guy. And that, honestly, that's where I kind of started with my, like, I don't know if I'm really so sure about Kevin anymore. Cause for me, even just accepting losing, like, okay, they just want me to play this guy so we can lose. I guess I have to do it kind of mentality. I don't want that. I don't want that as my coach. I don't want that in my organization. I hate losing so much. I don't care what draft pick slot you end up getting.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like we have on our show, like when we're not a tanking podcast. We don't want to talk about taking even the hint or conspiracy theory of it. We hate talking about it. But I agree. At some point this year, you're going to have to bring it up. Like if they continue to play Dylan, if they lose to the Jets, and then he comes in and says,
yes,
hey, Dylan's still the guy. Then you got to start questioning yourself, like, well, what am I doing here as a fan that I'm going to continue to watch Dylan come home against Baltimore and try to put up numbers to beat him? Lamar Jackson's back. They're going to put up like 30 points. So, like, you think you're going to beat that? Even with this defense being as good as it is at home, different from the road, but better at home. It's still, you're like, I don't know, man. I don't see any wins outside of New York. Like a lot of people are saying Vegas, but they don't play well on the West Coast. It doesn't matter who's the head coach, whatever regime. they have a losing record out there, specifically even against Oakland or Vegas. Like we went last year thinking, oh, we're going to win, and we end up getting smoked. So I wouldn't even put that as a win either.
That's a good point. I said this on the show last week. You know, it would be such a Browns situation to go out to Vegas and have them start Kenny Pickett against us.
And then Kenny Pickett throws a 350, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm going to tell everybody, see, I knew you could do it. Y'all wanted him traded. I was saying keep Kenny. And I think he would have gave you a lot longer than Flacco did to get these guys ready. But, hey, now we'll see if he does. I don't know if he will. But, yeah, it would be funny. It would be fitting. And that's when, as a fan base, you're like, all right, man, we got to ride in Berea or something.
No kidding. I mean, and I guess we can just kind of look ahead to here at the remainder of the season and what we expect. I'm with you. If I don't know if I can actually sit on like our preview show that we do every Thursday and tell everybody that I'm picking the Browns to win in New York. And that hurt. Like that sucks because I look at the Jets. They just got their first win of the season. They're a mess. You know, they have no idea who they want to play quarterback and all this stuff. And I look at the matchup and I think, there's a very real possibility we don't win this game.
I agree with you.
We're on the road. Our defense doesn't travel on the road. You know, we've had good success against Justin Fields in the past, but he hasn't thrown an interception yet this season. And all it takes is, 14, 17 points, and we're probably screwed.
Yeah.
And we can't stop the run right now. So if Breece Hall just does a couple things, they got Isaiah Davis, who looks like a nice player. And it doesn't matter how bad the opposing defense is. Our offense is this. It doesn't matter if we're playing against a good defense or the Dolphins. We still can't move the ball.
Yeah, look at Cincinnati. We couldn't move the ball against Cincinnati. Right? So you think you can move the ball against the Jets, who actually had a whole season? So, I mean, halfway through the season, they have some chemistry being built. Like I agree with you. And when I wasn't surprised when Jets came out as 2.5 point favorites. I'm not. People are like, what? I'm like, I'm offended. I'm like, you shouldn't be. This offense sucks. They can't even score. You think you can go on the road where your defense isn't as good? And a lot of people are like, the defense are going to win. I'm like, guys, look at. Do yourself a favor. Look a little deeper. The defense on the road isn't as good. Teams put up more points, yards, offense, throwing and passing than on the road. They're a better home defense than the road. So that's even Justin Fields or Tyrod Taylor. It doesn't matter. I still have them losing.
Yeah, I mean, the defense will have to win you a game on the road, and they're going to have to do it. They can't just create turnovers. Like the defense actually has to take the ball and physically go put it in the freaking end zone because like last week we picked off Drake May, and what did we get out of it? A missed field goal, right? We didn't get anything. We didn't get any points. Like you can't count on the offense for anything.
Yeah, even I don't know if you know, but Briggs is having a good season over there in New York. You think he's not going to? He's not going to be motivated to play against the team that traded him. I mean, he's going to come in with his hair on fire. But I agree. I know the Jets game scares me. If they lose that game, they got Ravens, then Vegas, and then Chicago at home. That's a tougher 4 games than what it was when you first looked at it.
Very true. I mean, like you were talking about the Ravens coming up after that. I just watched the Thursday night game. And again, I know it was against Miami, but our offense was able to generate, 17 points against Miami. I know it was raining and all that kind of stuff or whatever, but we couldn't pass the ball for crap. Lamar Jackson's out there just touchdown. No big deal. Derrick Henry's up and down the field, 120 yards. No big deal. They really, I know their defense isn't great, but are we really going to hang with them, whether it's at home or not?
Eventually the defense is going to just say, forget it, right? You're going to be like, well, we're not putting our life on the line. We're 1-10. I mean, or 2-10. So you're going to be like, the defense can't go out there. Like you said, unless they physically get the ball and run it into the end zone, they're doing as much as they can already. You think they're going to do that for 17 games where they're just putting it all on the field? That's unrealistic to even expect. And that's what sucks about this, the last 2 seasons, really. Like, our defense has been pretty good that you can win some games and even some playoff games. Like, this defense is good enough to even maybe, just maybe you get lucky, the ball roll your way, and hit the AFC Championship game, and you're like, you can't even score 14 points right now. It just sucks.
It's exactly how it was last year. I mean, I feel like a lot of games last year, if you go back and you look at even just the box score and the scoring breakdown, halftime games were not out of reach yet. The game Sunday was only, what was it, 9-7?
9-7, yep.
9-7 at halftime. And it's like, hey, we're hanging in there. We could, and we can't, we scored on the first drive. We're not scoring again. It was 9-7, ended up 32-13.
Yeah, Vrabel said, he's like, outside of their gimmick plays, we were okay. Meaning outside of the first drive, we kind of understood what they were going to do, because that's Kevin. He's good on the first drive. After that, he's predictable.
Yeah, and Jake talks all the time about how there's no play set up. Like, Kevin doesn't run anything with the idea of, like, I'm trying to set something up later in the game off of this look. He talked about specifically the jet sweep to Malachi Corley.
Twice.
That was awesome.
Twice,
like 31-yard run. Yeah. And we never came back to it. We never came back to do it, like give him another jet sweep or run a fake or a play action or anything off of that. It was, okay, we ran it and now we're just it's like, what are we even doing? Do we have a plan?
And you need that with a quarterback has so much limitation like Dylan Gabriel does. And you have to kind of fake the defense, and it's just frustrating. I agree. And I felt like Kevin did that his first year or two, where he would, this play worked, let's get something off this. And it worked. But for some reason, he's just fallen into this, I guess the best way you put it, is this stubborn mode where I'm just going to do it my way, and it's just going to be this horrible way.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of times coaches will call plays, whether they're successful or not, they just want to call the play to get the look out there. Whether it gets a big gainer or doesn't, we just want to make sure the defense sees this look, because we're going to come back to it later and try to run this play or that play off of that. There's just,
and that's why you have to question
setup.
him as an offensive guy. Like Chad's on our show saying, well, he's not really an offensive guy. I was like, he was hired as an offensive coordinator from the Minnesota Vikings because they believed that his offense would work. The first year, his offense worked. After that, it started to go down a little bit. He's an offensive guy. Well, coaches do multiple things. His specific calling is offense. If your offense sucks, you have to blame him. It can't be the coordinator anymore. You got rid of 4 of them. At some point, you had to put it on yourself.
I don't understand that argument of he's not an offensive guy. He was an offensive coordinator. He was hired as an offensive head coach. He's running his offensive system. He calls the offense. He is the offensive. He's the mastermind behind whether it works or doesn't, and it's not working. It goes back to him.
Sorry, Chad. It's not working.
Yeah, sorry, Blake. I mean, I know that. Seriously, Blake, Chad, you guys, I mean, people would love it. I'm sure people would, from your podcast and ours, like, they would love to hear those two.
I'll talk to Chad, see if we can get you guys get together again. You got to do an anti-Kevin pod and then a pro-Kevin pod and see what one does better.
Yeah, see what the reactions are like on them. Good Lord. All right. So I guess maybe we'll try to spin a little positivity here. Like, what are some things from this season that you've seen that you're like, okay, obviously things aren't going very well at all, but we've got some bright spots?
I like Junkins. He's obviously good. He hasn't played well last couple of games, partially due to the offensive line, but I like him. I like his upside. I like Mason Graham, and I know the studies are coming out. I follow Jake Burns closely, and he put out a beautiful article about Mason Graham and what he's worried about. I totally recommend reading it. I understand his weaknesses, so I'm hoping that he blossoms into he grows and develops into a good defensive tackle. I like him. I like the young pieces. Even on defense, he got a lot of unrestricted free agents this past year that I feel like if they can develop them, that's going to help us as far as talent growth, because then you don't have to worry about getting that guy in the draft. Outside of that, our offense is I look at the offense, I'm like, outside of Junkins, I thought Sampson will have a bigger role right now.
Me too.
I'm kind of confused on what's going on there. I understand he doesn't block well on third down, but I thought maybe first and second down, maybe have him and Q back there together, kind of confuse the defense a little bit. But that hasn't happened. Outside of that just Junkins right now, and I'm very excited about those young pieces on defense. And obviously the draft picks that we're going to have to hopefully accumulate and draft some young studs.
Hopefully. I mean, with Sampson, with our lack of wide receiver depth and even just overall ability, I don't know why they don't use, because all we heard during training camp was, he's been working with the receivers. He's going to be running out of the slot and stuff. Well, do it. Get him out there so that he can operate, because we already saw week 1. You get the ball in his hands with a little bit of space, he's going to do something with it.
I feel that everything they said in the preseason was a lie. Everything.
Yeah.
From Dylan to the quarterback competition to Shador. I feel like everything was just a lie. Like, it was a huge mess, but they sold us this big, like, no, yeah, we're doing great. Yeah, everything's fine. Meanwhile, the background's everything's set on fire. Because how can you tell me that he's working with the receivers and you have not even attempted, at least from what I've seen, maybe I could look back at the snap count, at Sampson being at least in the slot to kind of, again, it gives you a different look that the defense will have to start to prepare for each week. Sampson in the slot. He caught a couple passes. We got prepared for that. But they haven't. It's confusing.
Yeah, I mean, you could start him there. You could motion him into the backfield and have him leak out the opposite way. I don't know. I'm not a football coach, but I'm just a fan, and I sit here and I think, well, there's stuff you can do. You can get creative with the pieces you have. I know the argument is always, well, they don't have any personnel. The offensive line sucks. They're old. They don't have any receivers. So what's Kevin supposed to do? I don't know. Try something. Get creative with it.
Pittsburgh doesn't have a really good offensive line. What do they normally do? Line up an extra person, and they seem to find a way to give it to DK Metcalf every game. I mean, now, granted, we don't have a DK Metcalf on our team because a lot of people still think Jerry Jeudy's a receiver 1, which obviously he's not. But, I think getting creative is something Kevin is struggling with. And that's what makes offensive guys who are head coaches great. You have McVay down in L.A., right? Where have they get these guys? They didn't have high draft picks. They said F those draft picks a couple of years ago. Yeah. And they still were drafting studs, Puka, and all these other guys who are making impacts on their plays. And they have a coach who's developing the right way. And if you guys could get your heads out of Cleveland and see how these offensive guys are actually helping their teams win, then you realize, well, maybe we're selling ourselves short with Kevin.
Yeah, big time. I mean, I feel like our offense wouldn't have a whole lot to speak of at all outside of, when the run game is working with Judkins and when he's making a guy miss, there would be hardly any first downs or anything to speak of. If it weren't for Harold Fannin Jr.,
yes.
I feel like
I forgot about him.
I was talking to my dad about this the other day. I said, if it's 3rd and 8, all you have to do is throw a 3-yard pass to Harold Fannin and he will get you 5 freaking yards plus some because that dude does not ever go down before the sticks.
He surprises me. He has surprised me this year how his ability to break tackles. Even Junkins. I didn't think Junkins was. I think his yards after hit contact is pretty. I think it's top 5 right now. I could be wrong. Last time I looked at it, it was top 5. Listen. The offense has been so bad. I totally forgot we had Fannin. That's how bad the offense was. I'm actually encouraged with Fannin too, to the point where I thought maybe I'm thinking these Njoku trade rumors are true because I feel like you can move on from him. But we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I agree. Fannin's breaking tackle ability is crazy. And Chad pointed us on our podcast of how he runs like a duck, and it kind of throws people off a little bit too. But yeah, he's been a surprise too.
I know that was one of the people joked about that during the pre-draft process and stuff. The way he runs, but he's powerful. He's a smaller tight end for the position in the NFL. But he plays like he's 6'5", 250, and it
sucks too.
The legs never stop.
It sucks too because he's blocking. He has to block more considering what's going on with the offensive line. That you can't really put him out as what he can do. I feel like he's blocking a little too much, and understandably
I think that
if he is out there.
Yeah, and I think that's my one concern if they do trade Njoku because I know they use Njoku.
Good point. For
blocking a lot, and which allows Harold Fannin to go do what he does, and then also that they did sign 2 new tight ends here in the last week, blocking guys. Hint. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Browns fans, if you're like me, the stresses in life only increase the older you get. Your family, your job, your bank account, just a few things that drive the cycle of stress every day. And if you have people constantly depending on you, it can put a heavy weight on your mental health. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? Why does no one appreciate everything I'm trying to do for them? If these thoughts have ever darkened your day, 1, you're not alone, and 2, I highly recommend talking to someone, and that's where BetterHelp could be the right resource for you. Head to BetterHelp, HELP.com/dogs, DAWGS for 10% off your first month of talk therapy. Just fill out a simple questionnaire and BetterHelp will match you with the best therapist for your needs. And if it's not the right fit, you can switch therapists at any time for no extra cost. BetterHelp is 100% online. You can talk with your therapist on the phone, via face chat, or even through text message. Your therapist will listen, ask questions, and help you see things from new perspectives. So what are you waiting for? Take the first step to making positive improvements in your life. Head to BetterHelp.com/dogs now for 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/dogs for 10% off your first month. It is interesting. I think that we'll talk about maybe some trades here in a second, but I just wanted to go back to what you said about feeling like they fed us a load of crap, a bunch of lies over the summer, and everything they told us really turned out to not be true. And I said earlier about, we heard from training camp, beat reporters every day say, Dylan Gabriel doesn't look like he's that guy. But then on the flip side, we heard him say, Shedeur Sanders is looking good. Like he looks nice. He's making some nice throws. He looks better than Dylan. So can we put any faith into those reports in thinking that if Shedeur gets his opportunity to come out on the field, again, not expecting it to look phenomenal with the pieces around him and the coaching and all that stuff, but can he overcome those things to show us, hey, you guys, I can be the future here?
I think he can. I'm a little worried the last game runs in my mind constantly if I'm running back.
The Rams?
Yeah. Because he had that problem. The only reason why it's a concern is because he had that problem in Colorado where he's running back. I think if he can fix that, if he can just learn to either take a sack there as opposed to taking the sack back there or throwing the ball away, I think he can get better. He will be better. I just don't think Shedeur is as bad as Dylan. You just can't be as bad as Dylan. Like, that's why I was trying to tell Chad this past Tuesday. There's no way that Shedeur would come out here, even if he doesn't come up to what people expect, like this expectation he's going to throw 500 yards. He will be at least what we would consider a backup quarterback. Dylan is not even giving me that vibe right now, where he's coming out like, oh, there's some plays there. Dylan's not giving us that. Shedeur, I think, who we've seen in the offseason, in the playoff, even training camp or during the preseason, those throws that he would just layer and he let guys open. Dylan's not doing that, mainly because he can't see over the line, but he's just not getting it to where the receivers can either lead to him or even see them, which is weird. But yeah, I would think Shedeur can be better and should be better. I just think he should. He's just a better athlete overall.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all with any of that. I think, I mean, people have a right to be hopeful and optimistic about it. I just keep telling everybody to temper your expectations as far as when or how soon it's going to happen, because I just get the vibe that Kevin's kind of got the mentality of over my dead body. Like, I'm not benching Dylan. I'm not putting in Shedeur. I don't know. And maybe that's just me feeding into some of the conspiracy talk that I see online and read from people. But just the actions of the team and the way they've handled the whole situation, it's just been, I just feel like it's been weird. So I can't tell anybody they're stupid for thinking those things. You know, I feel like it's all valid.
And it goes back to what one of the conspiracy theory is, like, Dylan's Kevin's guy, Shedeur is Barry's guy. So if you acquiesce to what Barry and he's good, it's kind of going to give you less power in the organization, saying, well, Barry picked a quarterback and you picked this quarterback and this quarterback's better than this. And we hired you to evaluate quarterbacks and we gave you a whole year to pick a quarterback. And this is the guy you picked out of Shedeur even, because you pass up on him. So it kind of puts that into play too.
Do you find it interesting at all, like I do, that the week that Kevin Stefanski made Dylan Gabriel the starter and Joe Flacco the backup instead of Shedeur, the very next Monday or whatever it was, Joe Flacco was gone?
Yeah, no,
you find that interesting?
That's interesting and telling at the same time, because if you know how the NFL works and how GMs work, we've seen it here. Didn't we see here before? Oh, running back Hyde was here, and then
Carlos Hyde.
And then you had Chubb, and the guy You refuse to play Chubb, and it was all right. We'll trade Hyde. Now you got to play Chubb, which ended up being better for the organization. Either way, yeah. So there's proof there. I know people's like, "Oh, it's a conspiracy." Well, if you go and just see trends over decades of the NFL between GM and coaching debates within inner circle, that's how GMs get their guys in.
You're right. And we have, like you said, we've got the samples that have happened right here in our own organization recently, pretty recently. So yeah, I keep thinking back to that and how we'll see how this all plays out. But do you think, real quick before we kind of wrap up here, are there any moves that you expect to happen? Browns either trade for a position or a specific player, or trade away anybody? Or is there something that you think could happen that maybe people aren't talking about? No,
I think this team, unless they get a young guy that they could kind of like Campbell, who they can control the contract. He's young and it fits the system, which ends up being a really good move for them right now on defense. Someone that they control. I don't see them getting a guy like a lot of people in my comments saying we should go trade after AJ Brown. He's a headache in Philly. It's like, no, we're not doing that. He's old, man. We have age limits here. Our analytics team shows that anyone over 30 is worthless. So if anyone's creeping up to that age, just not even put them on our team, because they're going to look for someone younger, someone that they can invest in and develop themselves, unfortunately. So I don't think they're going to make any big moves. Outside of maybe trading Njoku, I would say that's a big move as far as a fan base, because he's a fan favorite.
I mean, A.J. Brown's a funny one, because you think he's unhappy and complaining with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. What do you think he's going to do with Dylan Gabriel in Cleveland? Come on.
Especially, there's like, pair him with Shador. It's like, come on, man. That's even.
His contract's huge, too. He just signed an extension before last season. Yeah, that's
another thing. Like, you got to move around that contract. That's what the whole Miles trade is this whole week. That's getting siphoned out, because people are like, they're not going to trade Miles. Like, come on, they can't. Not till at least 2 more years, and that's more tradable than what it is now.
Yeah, if you read Jack Duffin from the OBR, theoretically, could they trade Myles Garrett financially? Yeah. Yes, it would strap us a little bit next year as far as who we could sign in the offseason and all that kind of stuff. But they could. Are they going to? I would be shocked.
I mean, he's the only reason why you're kind of getting points at this point. I mean, he's stopping defenses, creating sacks. I mean, he's making other players better. He's made Wright better. He's making that whole defensive line better. I mean, you can't trade your face at the franchise. That's just, especially after signing him a big contract, that would just be silly. But then again, this is the Browns organization, so
it's just so true.
Yeah, watch what I say, because it could come to put pie in my face.
Yeah. Oh, no kidding. But yeah, we'll see. Trade deadline here coming up in a couple of days. Obviously, if moves get made, you guys will cover it. We'll cover it. And Njoku, to me, seems like the most likely one if something happens. If news drops, it's going to be him. I could see a contending team, especially. I keep seeing people say, well, he should go to the Bucs and play with Baker. Actually, it makes kind of sense. You know, they lost Mike Evans. Chris Godwin's constantly banged up. Ibuka's been hurt for them. To have a guy like Njoku would help their offense quite a bit. There's familiarity there with Baker Mayfield, all that kind of stuff. I think that actually does make some sense. Yeah.
Do you think that we'll eventually play Watson again before next year? Because after next year, he's more tradable, obviously. You could get rid of him.
Yeah. It's hard for me to envision them ever playing him again, especially when every time Jimmy Haslam gets an opportunity anymore, it seems like he's calling him a failed trade.
I agree with that.
Like he just did it last week again, called him a failed trade. I'm like, well, anybody saying that they're going to start him after the bye week or whatever, forget it.
And it's weird that he's doing it to kind of advocate for Kevin. He's like, well, we got to get Kevin more time because we screwed up here. So that's another thing, because I think Watson may not like Kevin as much as we assume. I think it's evident, but I think him and Kevin didn't get along.
I do too. Yeah, was it Watson or somebody else was like
both of our quarterbacks had like both of them.
That's what it was. It was a video
from another podcast.
Was it Chad, the dumb Browns fan or whatever on Twitter or TikTok?
Well, one of those sites, but yeah.
Gosh, what?
It was a saying that Watson is Watson that bad, or did Kevin ruin Watson? Yeah.
That's what it was.
Watson
favored it.
He didn't like it.
Added it to his favorites
He added
list.
it to his favorites. For those that are not social media savvy, that is even worse than liking it. Yeah. Because if you put it in your folder, you're going back to that every day as motivation.
Yep. That I forgot about that. That's interesting because, and then he posted that video, a second video saying, hey, look, he favorited it. So like it's out there that Deshaun Watson was doing that. And then Shedeur Sanders liking the
See, that's the only thing that kind of pauses me, because Chad called me out on this. You say, well, you're worried about his immaturity. I'm like, yeah, I'm so worried about his immaturity that I still want him out in the field, because Dylan sucks that bad. I think he can grow into a man. He can mature into a man. You can't help Dylan. He just sucks. There's no growing there. Like, we made the argument about Baker, and then we traded him away, and look at him. He's freaking leading the Bucs to a playoff run the last 2-3 years. So I would no longer look at immaturity as a red flag, as more as ability. I made that mistake with Baker.
Let's look at what they do on the field. And it's just, how many NFL teams have guys on their roster that they're probably like, gosh, I kind of wish we didn't have this guy in the building because he's a pain in the ass, but he's awesome on the field, so we're good to go. They just deal with it. And the thing with like Shedeur Sanders, and his fan base will be the first ones to tell you. He's a celebrity. Whether or not he's performing or playing on the football field at the moment, he's still a very well-known, popular, highly followed individual. He is a celebrity, so there is a different surrounding, a different aura that comes with those type of players versus a guy like Dylan Gabriel, who's not.
Yeah, I agree.
And you guys drafted him, so if you didn't like it, you shouldn't have freaking drafted him.
Yeah, it's good. Did Kevin really think that Dylan was going to be that good that he was going to keep this silence of Shedeur down? That's the confusing part for me, because it was loud as soon as they drafted him, and they thought, "Oh, we can keep this quiet." No, as soon as he would have thrown a pick, it would have been, people would have been screaming, especially the Shedeur fans. But now Browns fans are right on it, so they're gonna. Man, I hope Dylan doesn't play that Baltimore game at home, because I'm telling you, Haslam, if you're listening, I'm telling you, if you lose against the Jets, you need to move on from Dylan, because it's not going to be a fair homecoming for you, for this team, if they trot Dylan out there.
No, that stadium will get ugly fast, real fast. Well, I feel like we, obviously a little bit more negative than positive, but that's where you are at a 2-6 season at the bye week with this team, especially were we 2-6 last year after 8 games? I can't remember if we had won 2 games before that or if we were 1-7. Either way, it sucked.
Last year was a black hole for me. But even though I do a podcast, I can't remember. But they were just as bad, which is concerning considering the negative press that we've done this whole podcast about one person.
Yeah, because we didn't get our second win. And was it the Steelers game at home on that Thursday night? Was that the second win? With Jameis. Yeah, no, that was the third win. I'm sorry. The second one was Baltimore at home with Jameis.
Yeah.
Because the first one we just squeaked by the Jaguars in week 2. Yeah.
With the receivers who couldn't see. And that was the second one. I remember. That was a very emotional game. Good game, though.
Man. Last year, this year, I really don't want to do a third year in a row next year. I'd like to move on, make some changes, and get some new hope.
Yeah. A positive note that you have 2 picks in the first round you get better at, if you want to leave with a little positive.
Before we end this podcast, do you trust AB in this front office with those picks? Let me ask you this. Is one promising, because I hate calling this 2025 draft a home run. Guys, it's been 8 games. We don't freaking know yet. We see good things. We don't know. Is one promising, we'll call it a promising draft class out of 6, enough to give you confidence?
No. I can't lie to myself and say and be positive, because I feel like I've been negative this whole show. Chad's going to kill me. But I can't. 1 out of 6 isn't good. It's promising. It's like, okay, but does it give me the ability to have the potential to pick my next franchise quarterback if that's where they want to go? I can't say that right now. I just can't.
My thing with last year's draft, and I've been listening to Jake Burns, with his Mason Graham stuff, and I started breaking down. I told everybody I started breaking down the all 22 from the Patriots game last week. Made it through the first half. Mason Graham didn't do anything. Like, he didn't do anything in that first half. It was disappointing to watch. Now maybe the second half, once I get to that, it'll be a different story and I'll talk about it. But we so desperately needed offensive help. True. In the worst way. On our show, we talked the entire offseason, like, please, God, no, just use all draft picks on offensive players. Like, just forget the defense. Kind of being facetious, but at the same time not, because we really did need offense. And instead of doing anything to help the offensive line or the receivers or any of those premium positions, Andrew Berry went defensive tackle top 5. It's like, if you're going to go defense top 5, it needs to be like a absolute elite pass rusher or cornerback, probably not defensive tackle, because you can find very good defensive tackles and even elite ones later on. Like, those guys are in the draft, and we're kind of seeing that with some other teams. It feels like, I don't know, man. It worries me with Andrew Berry and their ability to evaluate offense. It really does.
Yeah, and it can kind of make sense why they went maybe defense the first round, because they can't evaluate properly. Now, I would say that I'm a Mason Graham fan, so I was pretty ecstatic when they drafted him. But I'll let that play out, and then if I have to submit saying maybe my fandom is getting ahead of me right now. But I agree. I thought maybe the second pick. Now, Carson Schlesinger obviously is probably better than right now than what Mason Graham is on paper. But I thought maybe they'll go offense there. But I'm glad they didn't, because obviously Carson's tearing it up. But yeah, it's just weird how that whole draft has went, because you drafted 2 running backs, 2 quarterbacks. So that hindsight, you're like, oh, that's pretty smart, because I thought Samson was good value there, but you're not even using him properly, which is confusing. Right. And then you draft 2 quarterbacks. Now you have this quarterback drama. So add that to the mix of why I don't think I can trust AB right now with the next year's draft.
Yeah, and that's all part of the reason why I just hesitate to say, oh, it was a great home run draft class. Because like you said, you drafted 2 quarterbacks and neither one of them, hold out hope for Shador, but I mean, there's a good chance that neither one of them are going to be your guy. You're using late round picks on quarterbacks that probably won't even be here, or they'll just be backups at the very least, and then second running back, which we needed, but you don't use him, or you don't know how to use him, which would be a little bit more of what I think is you don't know how to use him. Harold Fannin looks great. Yep. Schlesinger looks great. Quinshawn looks like he can be your running back of the future. Mason Graham is promising. I'll let it play out, because it is a difficult position to transition to. But I will always look at Mason Graham with the standard of, you were a top 5 pick. So you better be playing like one at some point within the first 2 years.
Valid point.
So, like, if we're at the end of next year and we're going, well, was Mason Graham really worth a top 5 pick? Then the answer is no.
Yeah. But then they'll look at the overall pick as like, well, you got that pick from the Jaguars and they got this player and he's hopefully tearing it up. I don't know. That's how people will spin it into positive. I'll spin it into positive.
Overall, I think that trade was good. And I do think if we want to end on a positive, I think Andrew Berry has whatever that GM's name is down in Jacksonville, the first year guy, he's got his number.
He's like, hey, you want Dylan Gabriel? Give us a first round. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, here, take Greg Newsome and we'll take Tyson Campbell, which, like you said, for the first couple games here, looks like a pretty darn good move.
It does. Maybe we could keep AB for trades and have someone else draft. Maybe here's the last thing I'll say about AB. AB's very good with the cap, and he does move the cap well. So what gives me pause is, are they going to continue to keep him on staff until he figures out this Watson deal? And once he's off the books, they say, all right, AB, you're done. Because you kicked the ball, you're smart enough to kick the ball down the line, we'll get somebody else in here.
Yeah.
Unless they're like, someone else will figure this out, you're done.
I think a lot of it goes to Paul DePodesta and, their process for evaluating talent. I've talked a lot on here about the Moneyball strategy that he created and developed in baseball, and how it used heavy analytical process over traditional scouting methods. And it just makes me feel like we're doing that same shit here, because you can't, how can you argue that we're not? I mean, we're using analytics to dictate which players we want to draft and stuff a lot of times over just looking at the film. Because there's guys you can watch the tape and say, oh, that guy's a football player. You know, just go draft him. And they're like, no, we're going to take Anthony Schwartz instead.
That worked out
okay,
well, too.
Cool. Good.
For one game, maybe.
Yeah, he had his one game, and then he had his Baker career ender in Cleveland.
Unfortunately.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Go check out Angel and the Bearded Brown show. Where you guys are on what, YouTube?
Yeah, we're on.
And where you guys
every
stream?
Anything that streams, I feel like we're on. I think Mike puts us on just about anything. But definitely the 4 major ones. 7:30 on Tuesdays, 10 a.m. on Saturdays. And you guys have motivated me to put out random stuff throughout the week, so I'll probably just drop random stuff throughout the week. So just, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, you guys are doing a really great job with your content. You guys are on fire, so go give them a follow. Check them out. These guys are awesome. They're fans like we're fans, just giving you the perspective that, honestly, I feel like sometimes the media tries to get a little too analytical in their own right and talk about, hey, you know, the coaching staff, this is what they're thinking. It's bullcrap. We're going to tell you what it looks like and how we see it, because more times than not, that's the reality.
I agree.
So, all right. Well, everybody enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy the bye week. We'll get ready for hopefully we can beat the Jets next weekend and all that kind of stuff. We'll be talking about it all week. You guys will preview it. We'll preview it. So we'll get the breakdown coming. So appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at The Dogs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
This episode is sponsored by Butcher Box for Pets. Browns fans, we love our fellow dogs, our Dog Pack members, and the Dog Pound faithful, but let's not kid ourselves. The most important dogs in our lives are, well, our dogs. Your furry friends aren't just pets, they're part of the family. But the question is, what are you actually feeding them? Head to butcherbox4pets.com/products to see all the options for your dogs, including fresh and dry foods, treats, meal toppers, and even toys for your dog. If you're not sure what your dog will like best, try the Premium Nutrition Adult Starter Pack, and they even have a vacation bundle to take care of your four-legged friends while you're on vacation this summer. And right now you can get 20% off your order with promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out. At ButcherBox, they believe in real ingredients. Their pet foods have been developed and certified by vet nutritionists to contain zero artificial flavors or preservatives. You get protein-packed formula with over 50% of the recipe comprised of third-party certified humane ButcherBox meat, plus functional ingredients like pre- and postbiotics to support your dog's vitality and digestion. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line is your dogs are getting the nutrition and the value they need, and honestly, that they deserve. I know our home wouldn't be the same without Odie, our 100-pound golden retriever who thinks he's a 10-pound lap dog. He is not, but it gives us peace of mind knowing that we're giving him quality food instead of just that factory processed garbage from the store. And speaking of the store, no need to go. ButcherBox for Pets delivers their high-quality food right to your door. So head to butcherboxforpets.com/products and use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 20% off your order. It's time for us dogs to give our dogs the nutrition they deserve.